From this moment on, you will now be known as Sharkbait.
Sharkbait, ooh-ha-ha!
Welcome, brother Sharkbait.
Sharkbait, ooh-ha-ha!
Enough with the Sharkbait.
Sharkbait, ooh, but...
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is D from Brooklyn, chilling with today's Sunday swim, and it's gonna be really basic today. We spend a lot of time with the salt water, and there's a lot of people that say, oh, I like the reef, or this one says, I like the freshwater tanks. Well, today I'm going to take 5 minutes to talk about the 5 necessary requirements to run any fish tank. Now, I know it seems like a really basic thing, and everybody says, oh, I already know that, or I do know that, but one question that I get more than any other question is, D, what do I need to set up a saltwater tank? Or D, what do I need to set up a freshwater tank? So I say, you know what? There's certain basic things that you need to set up any tank. So today we're going to talk about them. Thing number 1, first and foremost, you need to have a plan. In other words, you need to know A, how much you're willing to spend. B, do you have the time or the energy to put in to take care of fish? I know it seems like a really simple thing, but it isn't as simple as it seems, because how many times do you get people that they want a freshwater tank, they want a saltwater tank, they put so much energy into just buying the tank that they really don't know anything about the fish, and they really haven't stopped to think about how much it costs to run a tank, how much it costs in electricity, how much it costs in resources, as far as how much does a filter cost, how much does the fish food cost. All of these things are definitely necessary in order to run any tank, saltwater or freshwater. So the first thing you want to ask yourself is, how much time, money, and energy do I have to set aside to set up a tank? And once you come up with that number, those figures, then you're ready to go to the next step. But for instance, did you know just to set up a 10-gallon tank, it can run upwards of $50 to $100 depending on what you're going to put in it? Are you going to put cichlids in it? Are you going to put plants in it? All of these things are important. You just can't start out buying the tank and just kind of winging it, although many people do. What they find out later is, if they had a plan of what they were going to do to begin with, they could have probably saved half of the time and half of the money by buying the right thing from the beginning. So, number 1, do your research. Number 2, where are you going to put this tank? How many times do you come home, look at your tank and say, man, I really need to move that tank from where it is, or, boy, my wife really doesn't like that being there. And it all comes down to planning. So you want to actually say that this is part of number 1, especially with a saltwater tank. A freshwater tank, you're going to run into problems. Saltwater tank, a lot of people don't think about setting up areas for water changes. How big of a filtration system I need. Is the tank drilled? Is that going to look good in my living room? Am I going to hear it when I'm watching TV? Is the light going to bother me? And I know, once again, you wouldn't expect that to be one of the most defining issues that you need to address when taking in a tank, because it kind of ties into number 1, planning. But space and time all going hand in hand. And number 2, where am I going to put it? And once again, doesn't sound like a big deal, but let me tell you, when you get it in your house, do you have an outlet? Do you have the space? Are you going to bang into it? Is it going to be an eyesore after about 3 months of looking at it? Is your significant other going to tell you to tear it down? Number 2, definitely, where are you going to put it? Do you have room for all the equipment that you're going to need? And how long is it going to be there? Very important, very overlooked. Okay, now let's talk about something not so obvious, although we think it should be, especially saltwater hobbyists. Water. How are you going to get water to your tank? What kind of water are you going to use if you got a saltwater tank? If I had $1 for every time, including me, people tried to set up reefs with the wrong water, the wrong material. They don't know what kind of salt they got. They throw the salt in the tank with the water while it's mixing. Do you have RO water? Are you keeping corals? Are you going to decide to keep corals down the road? Water is the building block of all aquariums, freshwater and saltwater tanks. How are you going to get the water to your tanks? Even with these tanks, you may see I have small tanks. Why? Because for what I'm using them for, I can change the water quick, fast, and in a hurry. I can use RO water. I can use prepared water that I have ready for the reef tank. If I want to breed fish in it, I have a water source real close. This system is in my basement. I got a utility sink right there that I can drain water to. I'm not running in my wife's kitchen sink where I'm going to have salt water going in there. Water. How are you going to get water to your tank? Are you going to be happy if the water ends up on the floor? Even here, you can see that I have water over there on the floor. This basement is finished, so I don't worry about it. I can vacuum it. I can pull the carpet up. I can clean it. Water, especially if it's in a main room in your house, you got to think of how the water is going to affect your furniture, how the water is going to affect the wall. Another thing, while I'm on that topic, you might want to make sure you have protection on your walls. See, I never have tanks set flush against the wall. Even planted tanks, I have paneling or wallpaper behind the tank so moisture doesn't sit on the wall from condensation. Yes, salt creep is not the worst of your problems. Condensation on sheetrock can end to mold. So water, planning for water. If you're keeping a tank for a long time, I guarantee you at some point or another, water will end up on the floor or on the wall. It is just about unavoidable. If you haven't had that happen to you and you've kept the tank for a long time, leave a comment below because I want to shake your hand. I mean, water will always end up where you don't want it to be. Condensation, see that? That is just from the temperature of the water meeting the temperature of the air. You create condensation. Now imagine that on your wall. You can see the walls are clean. Why? Because I have a protective barrier on my walls, and when I knew I was going to possibly put a tank next to the wall, I painted the wall with a mold retardant paint. And I have posters inset in glass, like my movie theater posters, so any condensation goes on the glass and I wipe it off. So water, plan for water. How are you going to get water to your tank? How are you going to get water away from your tank? If it's a saltwater tank, do you have RO water? And plan accordingly. Okay, now this is almost the last point. Number 4, almost the last point. People. Why is it so hard to buy a book? If in this day and age, I know we have access to the internet, but why is it that so many people are so quick to spend, especially saltwater? I gotta target this to my saltwater people. Freshwater people, you're guilty too. Saltwater people, why are you so quick to spend $60 on a fish and you won't spend $7 on a magazine, a resource, a book, something that you can actually look at the fish that you're gonna buy, do some homework before you buy the fish? If I had $1 for every time somebody says, hey, do you want this fish or take this fish? No, I'm not being disrespectful, but I know what fish can go in my system and what fish I can't. Why? These aren't even new. I keep them as a reference. I can look at tanks. I can look at articles written by people that have had the issues I've had. Look at this article, the coral you can't afford to keep. There are reasons why certain corals are cheaper than others, why certain corals are expensive. Maybe your tank isn't set up to keep it. Maybe it has special requirements that you aren't ready to deal with. This is why Books, my friend, will never go out of style. The internet is a beautiful thing, but what does it hurt to buy a book, buy a magazine? Even better yet, join your local club. Meet people that are actually doing what you are doing, and not only on the internet, but you can go to the house or actually see the result of what they're doing. They're not just putting the good stuff on the internet, and when everything goes bad, you don't see nothing. We all have issues with tanks, good, bad, or and different. Buy a book, join a club, do your homework. Don't put the animals at risk. Animals have feelings. They want to live. They don't want to die. So if I had one big piece of advice that I always see and always recommend to people, not see, but recommend, do your homework, buy a magazine, do a what I call a book run. I look for anything on the internet, hard reference by a reputable source, a person that has a credit, degrees, experience that is proven by hard data. We're all in the internet, but that don't mean we're all scientists. Spend your money on a book or resource, proven data. Last but not least, getting into the hobby, bad things happen, good things happen. Both of them take time and energy. If you're going to take care of any animal, dog, cat, fish, hey, even a house plant. If I had to tell you how many times I bought a plant I thought I could keep and it didn't, I mean, the weather went bad, I didn't water enough, whatever the case was, be ready to invest the effort in following it through. When things go bad, you can't just throw your hands up in the air and throw it in the garbage. If you want good results, you have to put the time and the energy and effort into making them materialize. So number 5, and the most last and foremost, be ready to put in the work. Can't get the result without putting in the work. I didn't know something, I asked a friend, he gave me some advice, set these up, started getting results. Didn't go right the first time, didn't go the way I wanted it to go, but guess what? As you learn and make mistakes, you learn, you do better, you progress. This is a hobby of time, effort, and when you learn to be patient and get that balance, things look good. When things look good, it almost looks effortless, doesn't it? So take your time, do your homework, do your research, plan, expect to spend X amount, plan for what you're going to spend. But whatever you do, don't think you're going to buy a pill, buy the miracle filter, the super chemical cure-all for all things. Be ready to put the work in, and you can sit back and relax and enjoy the fruits of your efforts. This is D, talking you to death. Sunday Swim. Checking out, baby. Thanks. Hit subscribe. Post your questions. If you got any questions, if you really had something similar you want to talk about, put them in the comments below. Love to hear from you guys. Till next time, I'm out. See ya.